everybody. Welcome along to this edition of SportsView on LearMedia.tv. And it's Monday, the 5th of December, and it's just gone 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time GMT. Welcome, Joe Waters over there in Seattle.
Well, hey, Pat. Hi, Darwin.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
Welcome, Darwin, over there in England. And he has no tickets for the final, lads. In case anybody's inquiring, Darwin doesn't have tickets for the World Cup final. We want to get out of the way first, but he's looking for them.
Not yet.
Anyway, all things, as you can see from our banner up here, all things World Cup to begin the programme. And I suppose, look, since Darwin is reminder, we'll start with that match with England the other night, Darwin, and it was an easy win for them. And I don't think they were ever troubled in the match myself. I don't know. What did you think of it?
I was really surprised because I expected Senegal to be a much bigger game than that. I thought it was going to be a tough game. And it didn't. I don't think Senegal came to the match, to be honest. They'd looked quite good in some of their group matches. But I just don't think they turned up, really.
Yeah. And Joe, did you see the match?
I did, yeah. Yeah. I think
What did you...
I thought it was a little bit like the US match and the US England match, in that the US started well, but they ran out of legs because they played a really tough game against Iran in the last game of the qualifier. And I thought the same with Senegal. I thought that they would put up a much better fight and bring a bit more to it. But I mean, they kind of flattered to deceive a little bit for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then kind of England took over, and there was never any doubt about it after that. But again, they came from an emotionally charged game when they beat
Wales.
They beat Brazil in their. Was it they beat Brazil, or who did they beat in the last game to get through? And they came from a game that was very, very emotional as well. And, there's just a lot of energy being expended here when you're playing every 3 or 4 days, and in that heat. And, some of the teams that were able to do it for one or a couple of games, the deeper you go into it, the less energy they've got to fight the fight with it. And I thought that's what happened in those games.
I think the squad depth makes a difference as well.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a conversation this morning on US TV about it. I mean, you think about it, now you can put 5 substitutes on.
Yeah.
Right? That's a half outfield team.
Half a team.
No, Senegal does not have that depth that Brazil has, that England has, that Portugal has, that France has, that Spain has, that Argentina has. I mean, they've got guys that are Premier League type players or Serie A players or League One players sitting on the bench waiting to come in and give it a go. And these other guys don't have that. And it's a major factor in it.
The thing about England, as we're talking about them, I know we give them a slagging, and sometimes it's deserved and sometimes it's not. But in fairness, when I was looking at the English team, since they won so convincingly, but I expect them to win that match. But they have 7, in my opinion now, and I'm not an expert, they have 7 players on the substitute bench that come into that team seamlessly, immediately, and it wouldn't interrupt the team, in my opinion. That's England are strong. They are strong as a squad. They have excellent players to come on. And in fairness to Southgate, I know I've been a critic of his, he seems to have a team rather than individuals, rather than saying, well, we have to pick Joe and Pat and Mick and Tom. We have to pick them. He doesn't. He decides, I think he analyzes the opposition and he picks the team that he thinks that are going to be properly equipped to beat them. And if it's not working out, he changes it all right, because, I mean, he showed that against Senegal. Now, obviously, against France on Saturday night, it'll be a different kettle of fish. But at the end of the day, I know Mbappe and Giroud will be a handful for the defence, the English defence. They'll be really tested now in that match. I'm talking about the defence.
You think about it. You got Mbappe, you got Dembele on the other side.
Yeah,
Then you've got Giroud up the middle,
yeah.
and then you've got Griezmann right behind it. And that's 4 players that really need him on 2 defenders on every time they get the ball, don't they?
Yeah,
Well,
oh yeah. I mean, it's that France have got a very good team.
Oh,
I saw the paper
that's-
this morning that Benzema is actually fit and could come back for the remainder of the World Cup, but they're not bringing him back. Because
No.
I don't think they want to upset the harmony right now that they've got and what have you. But yeah, you're right. I mean, out of the 4 guys you're talking about there, Giroud is probably the 4th of the 4.
Yeah,
and he's the leading goal scorer in French history.
Very underestimated. He's been a fabulous player. He's very underestimated.
If you look at that French team now, though, you've got those 4 players who are all in form at the same time.
Yes.
And you look at the England. To me, Maguire and Stones are going to be run ragged on Saturday.
Well, I'm worried about Kyle Walker.
Well, I think somebody will get sent off in that game. I'm not sure. I think Trippier will play rather than Shaw, because to keep up with Dembele or Mbappe, you need speed.
You do.
Shaw has that. I think Walker will get the slot because of speed, but they're going to have to. Who's going to be covering Maguire? Because Maguire just looks like a cart horse when he runs, doesn't he?
Well, if he can just go one-on-one with Giroud, then that is a matchup that he can make. Interesting to see that you think Trippier might play. I'm just wondering now, as we think about it, as we look at it, is this going to be a little bit like the Euro final against Italy, where he drops 2 solid defensive midfield players in and sacrifices the attacking side of it? Because they're going to have to stop them somehow, and they're going to have it's going to be a little bit like the Dutch did the other day to the US team. When they get anywhere near their last third of the field or what have you, or last quarter of the field, they had 7 guys across the field.
Well,
it's going to be England on the break.
Yeah,
I reckon Dyer will be in there as a reinforcement for cover for Stones and Maguire.
I think
he doesn't have any pace. The guy that has all the pace in that back 4 is Kyle Walker.
Yeah, but I think
and that was a good thing that he played a full game the other day, and hopefully he's going to be fit for that. But again, the thing is, the best form of defense is attack.
Yeah,
and if you can score goals, then you put the other team under pressure, and I think France can be caught defensively.
Yeah,
I think that's and you know what? Hugo Lloris is not exactly filling me with the
confidence. No.
He's had a couple of flaps at balls and what have you.
I think Rashford will start for speed on the break.
But Derwin, sorry for calling you harsh. I was shocked that Marcus Rashford didn't start the match.
Oh, I think it was one eye on the France game.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
Yeah, because he's a physical presence as well. He's a strong lad. And he's a brilliant eye for a pass. He just seems to be. There's more about him than there is, say, with Saka. There's more about.
I actually think it could look like a Premier League game on Saturday.
I think Southgate's plan will be to get to half-time 0-0.
I think if they get 0-0 at half-time, they've done well.
Yeah, I think that would be the primary. But no, Netherlands beat USA 3-1. That was expected. You must hand it to Louis van Gaal, lads. Tactically, you must hand it to him. The man has been around a long time,
I don't think there's any question that Louis van Gaal is a great coach. I think he got the short end of it at United.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I mean, he won the FA Cup and he gets fired.
Yeah.
You know, it's like delusions of grandeur. You know, United still thinking that they. I think Mourinho, after he took over, said that getting United to second in the league was his greatest achievement in his career. He felt because of the standard of players that were there and what have you. So you know, I think for now, everywhere he's been pretty darn successful. And you know, you look at a Dutch team. I mean, he doesn't have the Johan Cruyffs and the Johan Neeskens and the Pete Kaisers and those guys really at his disposal, and he's doing a fine job. He's got a good system.
You know, they look to be very together as a squad, and I think they'll give Argentina bags with Derwent. Argentina, okay, they beat Australia, which they were expected to do, but did they beat them convincingly, Derwent?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's just you're looking at moments of magic from Messi with Argentina, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I don't think. I mean, Joe, you know better than that. You can't keep pulling moments of magic out your hat, can you?
Well, that's the thing with it. And, you know, I was going to say just what you're saying there is that it seems to me that with Argentina have got some fine players. They've got some perfect players in their own right. But they all seem to want to watch Lionel Messi play and do his thing rather than, you know, do their own thing and just integrate the whole thing into the way they play. And if they were able to do it, get them all playing, then it would be a totally different front line that they've got, because they've got some talented players without a doubt.
I'm surprised they didn't play Di Maria more in the group.
Yeah. But that young kid that they're playing is, I mean, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
still 4-0 in the other match. I'm just going to mention tomorrow night will be the last of these matches to decide quarterfinals, and Morocco are playing Spain and Portugal are playing Switzerland. Darwin, how do you read the Morocco-Spain match? Do you think Morocco have a chance?
Not as long as my bottom points downwards.
No.
No. I think Spain haven't even turned up yet. They've looked out. They look disjointed. They don't look like a team, do they? They look.
Could Spain get into the final?
No, I don't think that. But I think Morocco's going to. It's one. Morocco have done well, haven't they?
Obviously, Portugal and Switzerland. Portugal and Switzerland, Joe. How do you see that going?
You know, Switzerland are a very, very good team. They're a very good team.
They're tough.
They're a team in every sense of the word. They play hard all the time. They've got good defensive players. They've got good offensive players, and they're a very solid unit. And I think that they can give. They're the kind of a team that can give Portugal a lot of problems. They can shut down their individual players, and Granit Xhaka is doing a fantastic job right now. I think he's playing absolutely lights out, and I think that they're going to surprise a couple of people.
Yeah, I think if you shock that in that round there, it's definitely Switzerland beating Portugal.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a shock on the cards for Morocco, Spain.
Well,
no, I don't either.
If Spain and Portugal win, they'll be meeting in the quarterfinals.
Well, I think that would be a Portugal win, but I think, but I don't. I got a funny feeling Switzerland could nick that.
Well, then Portugal could wind up meeting France or England in the semi-final.
No, France. What do you keep saying France or England for? They'll
be playing England in the semi-final.
Stop giving me those
get there.
Can you imagine Ronaldo playing against England, lads? playing against Harry Maguire and the lad Luke
I'm
Shaw
just
and
trying
all
to
that.
work out if Portugal played England, which one will he be trying to get sent off this time?
Well, you know what? I think if Portugal play England and Ronaldo is playing against Harry Maguire might put him in the back of the stand.
I got a funny feeling Rosette could come in.
Yeah, it's there's no love lost between those two.
No.
You know, and the more and more that's coming out about what went on with Ronaldo there and what have you, trying to undermine Maguire and trying to get the captaincy and all that kind of thing, having his own clique in the dressing room.
We have to be honest about players, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I think Maguire has been pretty steady in this World Cup. He's been look. There's no centre back in the World Cup he isn't blessed with speed. Everybody knows that, but he's been solid defensively, Derwent. You know.
Oh, I thought he looked. There was moments last night he didn't look right at all. He looked like he was when he was running back a few times. He looked like he was running in treacle.
Yeah.
I just think to me with Mbappe, Dembele, with their speed, they could just target Maguire. They could run at Maguire. And they've only got to punt it forwards and they'll beat him in a running race all day long.
I'm just looking at the match there, Korea and Brazil. It's gone into a walking game, I think.
Yeah,
I think
that's
most
right.
of the people have gone away.
Yeah.
But before we'll go back to soccer, I mean, before we leave soccer,
but just a point on that one though, on the Harry Maguire situation. I mean, if they're going to put Mbappe and Dembele up against him, then that's going to mean that France are going to have to change the way they play. I mean, they love to play with their two wide guys hugging the touchline. So really, they're not going to get anywhere near Maguire. They're going to be more in the area of a Kyle Walker or
and Maguire
a Luke Shaw or a Trippier. So it's
Giroud,
so it's going to be interesting. That's why I wonder, and the two defensive midfield guys, if they play with two defensive midfield guys and say that they just drop back when either Kyle Walker or Luke Shaw or Kieran Trippier, whichever is being taken on, rather than bringing your centre backs out, because Maguire is not going to get out and stop Kylian Mbappe, and he's not going to get out and stop Dembele.
No,
I mean, those guys are just they're like Billy Wiz. They can fly.
Oh man, did you? There was one in that last French game. But Mbappe he gave the defender like a 3-yard head start, and was probably 10 yards past him before the defender really knew what hit him.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you just go, oh God, if that was Maguire, that would be like 30 yards. I mean,
and Maguire is cute enough to foul him, give him a kick and foul him.
Well, I got a funny feeling somebody could get 2 yellows on Saturday.
I hope there's a European ref for that match, because some of the refereeing has been
probably a bit South American.
Did you notice anything, or is it just me with my conspiracy theory hat on, about the whole World Cup up to now? I don't know who's in charge of the cameras of the World Cup. It must be the Qatari people. I'm assuming it is, you know. There's very little replays on really dirty tackles in the World Cup. Very little replays of them.
FIFA have got their own TV production company.
Yeah, well, they're not showing a lot of the dirty tackles.
Yeah, and if you've noticed...
That's why I was delighted. I was delighted to see Poland and Germany out of the World Cup.
Well, it's always nice to see Germany go home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
but have you noticed how in the early games, your president of FIFA was getting booed every time they put him up on the big screen?
That's right.
Now they've stopped doing that.
You're
probably telling me that's not a directive come from FIFA office going, stop putting him up on the big screen.
Absolutely.
I think the refereeing has been really poor. I mean, it's a matter of opinion, but again, I go back to the penalty that these guys just got today.
Yeah.
that's a ridiculous call from a referee. And then
It's
the
appalling.
referee insinuates himself into the play by going and talking to Neymar and then going and talking to the goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper.
He has no business doing that. The football field is 110 meters probably by 70 meters, and he gets in the way of a play in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have one where the South Korean guy is taking on a Brazilian fullback inside the box. The Brazilian steps across him, throws an elbow across him to block him going around him. The guy goes down. Referee waves nothing in that. 2 minutes later, Rafinha is taking on the left fullback, goes by him. The guy does the same thing, steps across him. Rafinha goes down like he's hit with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Yellow card and a free kick. Explain to me how those two things are different.
I must say the match
These are
I
real,
enjoyed.
aren't they?
The match I enjoyed up to now was one of the many games was Uruguay. You know, after winning the game, I'm not condoning what the Uruguayan fella gave the referee an elbow going off the pitch. You know, did you see that match?
I
The
did.
Uruguay match? Oh, lads, you should look back at the highlights of it. To be on YouTube. I mean, I don't blame them either. There were some horrendous decisions in that match, and Uruguay, if they had scored one more goal, would be true. You know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was the same thing with Mexico.
Yeah.
Even though Mexico were losing, they scored one more goal, they were in. And the players didn't realize it.
No.
The same thing with
Costa Rica, wasn't it?
it's the same thing with Spain. That if
Yeah.
who was it scored another goal in the other game, Spain
Costa-
would have been out.
Yeah, Costa Rica could have knocked out
Yeah.
Germany and Spain.
Yeah.
They could have if they got another goal against the Germans.
How good was that?
There was
And
one
Luis
game-
Enrique didn't know about it. I'm going, come on.
There was one game, lads. I know GC, all female, the female linesmen and all women doing it.
Must have been the Burkers getting in their way, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was funny myself. You know, can't say it really too much. SportsView is the program on learnmedia.tv. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel. We'll come back to soccer. I mean, we have to, before we leave soccer for this segment, we have to mention with that man there up on the screen, Mr. Pele, who's in hospital, but apparently the reports today are positive, and 82 years of age, that's Pele, winner of 3 World Cups, lads. Will it ever be done again?
It'd be very difficult.
Yeah,
And that was 3 World Cups out of 4.
yeah, that's right.
You know, he got kicked out the one in England,
58,
which was
60,
horrible.
yeah.
One in 58, one in 62,
70.
got knocked out in 66, and then came back, and that was just an absolutely brilliant team in the 70 team.
Well, I think the 1970 World Cup team of Brazil, in my opinion, Dermot, you're too young to remember the 1970 team.
No, I don't.
But,
Remember
I
that.
think they were one of the best winning World Cup teams I've seen. I mean, Castillo, Rivellino,
So-
Gerson, Pele, my God.
Ask you a question.
Yeah.
So think of Pele. I know when I think of Pele, I don't think of all the goals he scored. I think of one pass that he laid off to his right.
Oh, for
Gerson,
Was it
no,
Carlos?
for Carlos Alberto's goal.
Yeah.
Alberto, Carlos
What?
Alberto.
But what about the ball from the halfway line that he's running onto?
Oh,
He jumps. The goalkeeper is coming out. He jumps over it, runs around the goalkeeper, and then gets on the end of it, but just puts it wide.
Just puts it away.
I mean, that was absolutely. I mean,
stunning.
that was mind-boggling at the time to see somebody doing that.
So there's an example. You think of that guy and all the goals he scored. Yeah, 2 people went, no, it was this. And neither of them, well, one resulted in a goal, but one was a pass and the other was a bit of cunning, wasn't it, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
But-
you know, that to me is, you forget about all the goals.
I
I
do.
think of that.
We wish Pele very well. Obviously, he's 82 and he's been suffering from cancer. But I mean, to me, when everybody thinks, I mean, He's like Muhammad Ali in one respect. You could put up his photograph in any country in the world, and people would know who he is. You know,
Oh, yes.
That's astonishing when you think of the era he was playing in 58, 62, 67, when there wasn't the Twitter or the internet or anything, and yet he was playing. They even stopped a war in Nigeria for him. Do you remember that when he was going playing in Nigeria? I mean, I know we shouldn't be laughing at a war, but to stop it, they called it ceasefire because we're playing against player. You can read about this. This is just stunning, lads. You know,
Yeah,
it's stunning, and people don't realise the iconic figure that he is. Some people may not, but we do. But anyway, press the red button to subscribe to our channel. We'll just briefly look at golf, lads. The Hero Challenge is run by Hovland, Victor Hovland. Derwin, did you see any of that over the weekend?
No, I didn't see any of it.
He won that at -16. He won $1 million for himself. There you go.
nice Christmas present.
That's like finishing 10th at Live, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just for his thoughts at Live. But Shane Lowry finished at +5 at 76, 74, 77, 71, 72. He won $102,000, and he finished down the field in 15th place. So I mean, these are decent checks as the people are getting. And in the South African Open, Tristan Lawrence from South Africa won that $231,000. He won that. But Gary Hurley, our own Gary Hurley, who won his card, was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? You know, for the European Tour.
2 weeks.
Yeah, he finished at -5. He got $10,000. So Gary, well done. 69, 70, 71, 72. It's funny, 69, 70, 71, 72. but that was Gary. And the Australian Open was won by the Irish Open winner from Poland. You know, he was the first Polish golfer to win on the European Tour. He won the Irish Open. John, you remember that? Meronk, Meronk is his name. He won the Australian Open from Adam Scott, was runner-up in that. $270,000 he won for that, -14. So, and Ashley Buhai, I mean, she came back. She's from South Africa. She won the Australian Open, women's Open as well. They played those competitions together, didn't they?
Yeah, they're same time. Yeah,
I think at the same time. Yeah.
Whatever the word is.
So that was the golf, and I don't see any rugby. I think people went soccer, but in the rugby over the weekend, they went from Munster, Connacht, and Leinster in the United Rugby Championship, URC. Young Munster, Joe, I don't know if you ever go to see him playing down the Yellow Road. Young Munster. They had a win over Shannon, 32-3 in the All Ireland League, which is almost forgotten about now because
they beat Shannon.
They did 32-3.
Not happy about that.
Well, Gary Owen lost 12 or 10-28 to Ballynahinch, so look there. But anyway, and then now at the URC table, Leinster is top of the table with 43 points. The Bulls are 34. The Stormers are 34 points, and also 31. So the South African teams are beginning to make a dent at last, you know, and they seem to be taking it more seriously now. Munster are way down in 8th place. The reason I bring attention to this, the top 4 are guaranteed Heineken Cup 8 places in the URC league, you know. So Munster are in 8th place at the moment in that league. So they really have to pull up their socks, so to speak. And Connacht are in 11th place. So, I mean, these determine places for the Heineken Cup, the European Cup next year. And in the top 14 in France, La Rochelle were beaten. That's Ronan O'Gara's team. La Rochelle were beaten 27-14 by Stade Francais, but they're still well up there. Toulouse are leading that competition. That's the top 14 in France. Of course, the World Cup is on there next year in France, the Rugby World Cup, and we have high hopes for Ireland. Toulouse on 40, Racing on 35, Stade Francais 32, and La Rochelle 31. It's still 4-0 in the match, and it's just walking on.
Big news.
Did I see that correctly? That Warren Gatland
he's
gone back to
He's
Wales?
back. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be bringing one Gatland back when he'll be in a retirement home, I think, in Wales. They'll be phoning him up.
I went to watch Wales play New Zealand.
You did?
Yeah, Wales was so bad, it was unbelievable.
Go away.
Honestly, they were shocking.
Go away.
Really?
Joe, they had no.
What is wrong, Derwin? I know. What is it the way that the sport of rugby generally is it the demise of the club rugby has contributed to somewhat to that?
I think there is an element of that, and I think there's a lot of players obviously don't play in Wales; they play away.
Yeah.
And I think, like that last Wales game was played outside the international window against Australia, so they couldn't even pull in some of the Welsh players who are playing abroad because it was played outside the international window.
Oh wow!
And you sit there and you think to yourself, I play a golf with a lot.
Yeah.
Their argument is that Gatland has been the only one who's ever been able to make the WRU do what they should do.
Oh, I have you.
Whereas Pivac would be dictated to, no, we're not doing that, we're doing this. If you think about the whole thing with Welsh rugby, when Gatland arrived, everything started happening. Training grounds down at the Vale, the indoor facilities, and everything got better. Does that make sense? Or not better, but up to the same level as what England were doing.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find that Sean Edwards is out of contract after the World Cup. So I think he'll come back with Gatland as part of the deal after the World Cup.
Well, yeah, I mean, your point there. Gatland, for people who are watching the soccer list, Korea scored a cracking goal. It's 4-1 now. Yeah, it's a cracking goal. Just to replay, I'm just looking here in the monitor. Yeah, 4-1. They've only 3 more goals to get now in 15 minutes, and it'll be extra time.
I've got to say as well, I don't know if you saw those penalties that Japan.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I mean, you could have got old people in Zimmer frames to do a better job than that.
It was a funny thing. You're watching that. The guy dived to the same side 3 times in a row and saved the 3 penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I've had teams in situations, not in a World Cup, but when you get to the state finals and what have you, and you're telling them you got to commit to what you're doing, right? You've just got to commit to your penalty. Where you want to put it, just put it there, and don't worry about anything. Don't second guess yourself. Don't do anything, because the goalkeeper is going to guess and dive one way or the other, more than likely. And you go through your routine and follow through. And these guys just looked so, they looked like they had no energy when they moved up there. But I mean, we used to have a saying in the old days where if it was a soft shot like that, the goalkeeper threw his cap on it.
Yeah.
It was going that slow. And that's what it seemed like. I mean, there was no commitment to the ball or to hitting the ball at all. And
no, I'm afraid I was never a good soccer player, and there's no need to email me about it for people who'll be watching the program after. I take your point, I wasn't. But I'm saying that, in my opinion, a professional soccer player should never miss a goal from 11 yards out. Never, ever miss a penalty. Ever.
Yeah, but
the only reason the penalty is saved is by pure luck.
A bit of both, isn't it? It's a bit of both, Pat.
Well, no, 12 yards is totally different than 11.
Yeah.
So, that yard makes a huge difference. But, people just don't know what's going through your mind when you're taking a penalty.
Can I ask you 2 soccer pundits, how many times can you kick the ball to score a goal taking a penalty?
Well, you can play it twice, but that is only if the goalkeeper saves it.
No, but if you take a penalty, if I kick a penalty and it bounces off the keeper and comes out, I can kick it into the net.
Correct.
Yeah.
Why can't I just dribble to the right and kick it into the net?
Because I think it's like a free kick situation. You've got to kick it. You can't.
Why can't you? But why can't you pass a penalty?
You can. It's been done.
Yeah.
Who has it?
Yeah, it's been done. I think
Go
Danny
away.
Blanchflower did it at Spurs back in the day.
Go
Played
away.
the ball forward 6 inches, and somebody came up from behind and stuck it in the back of the net.
Go away.
Yeah, it's
I
been
was-
before. Yeah,
Well, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that in the World Cup. I mean, what would happen?
but
What would happen?
but then again, it did happen. It did happen in some tournament. Somebody tried to be real clever and played the ball to the side, going forward. The guy runs up and puts it over the bar. So,
I think I think myself, and I don't have any evidence. I only watch the matches on television, but to me, this World Cup has been excellent. Now they're talking about extending the teams to 48. Now, to me, it's not a World Cup with 48 teams because you won't have the quality, in my opinion. Yes, you won't have the quality. I mean, there's no team from the African continent in a position to win the World Cup this year. I haven't been for a thing. There's no team in the Asian subcontinent capable of winning the World Cup. There's no team from the North American continent of capable of winning the World Cup. South America, obviously, with Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay, they're the three winners of the World Cup in that. But outside of those three teams, it's been all Europe. You know?
I think those other countries are getting closer. If you look at me from Senegal or from Cameroon who are playing in the Premier League, or if not Premier League, they're playing in Germany, Bundesliga. There's more variety now in every league, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, but I mean, I think they're diminishing the competition, in my opinion. Like the European Cup, Joe. I know we'll all go back to the old days. The European Cup, in its purest form, pitted the best teams in each country in Europe. Straight knockout competition, do or die. The European Cup is turning into an absolute farce. You have about 18 to 20 club teams in the European Cup now. The Champions League, it's called now. Those matches are meaningless, you know?
But that's TV revenue to pay for the.
Yeah, I know, but is it doing anything for the standards of soccer, really and truly?
They'd argue that it is because some of that money does, even from FIFA, it will filter back down. How much it filters back down is another question. But
well, I mean, Rovers, Dundalk for years kept their operation going and were so successful because of being in the European Cup and the qualifying rounds, what have you. Rovers most recently have done it. I mean, they're making, they're able to put probably €500,000 back into the League of Ireland in their structure and in what their players that they're able to sign and what have you.
If you think about it, Bangor and all the rest of it, they would play because they won the Welsh Cup or something.
Yes.
And you've got teams that will, they're never going
to. I guess what I'm trying to say is, in the old days, in the 60s, 70s, before countries like you had Yugoslavia, that's all broken. There's more countries now involved. There are a lot more countries involved in the European Cup. So it's not rocket science to know that it should be the champions of each country that contest the European Cup, in my opinion. There are enough countries for that, you know?
Yeah, but you
have 4 or 5 teams in the Premier League contesting the European Cup. Yeah, so winning the Premier League in Britain means nothing.
You're asking the turkeys to vote for Christmas there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Those aren't going to say slim it down to 2 FA Cup and whoever wins the league. They're not going to.
Well, it's never going to go back to what it was before. But, I mean, you only have to go back to... I mean, I saw Waterford play Manchester United at Lansdowne Road back in the 60s. When United were the European champions.
Yeah.
And and you know, and they got them in that round, which was a huge deal. You know, Limerick back in the 50s when they won the league, they went over to Switzerland and played young boys in Bern.
Yeah.
You know, Limerick in later years with Owen Hand, Des Kennedy, Johnny Walsh, and all those lads, Pat Nolan. A lot of my friends in that team went to play Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. You know, Des Kennedy, I think, is still the only Irishman to ever score against Real Madrid home and away. So, you know, there were great teams in those days.
I waved at him today. This Kennedy actually I saw him today. It was,
Yeah.
Ace, and of course you're that lone town playing AC Milan.
Yes.
You know.
And well, you had Cork Hibs playing Borussia Mönchengladbach when your team was playing there, and you know, we've had some really great teams playing, you know, top class teams. Results didn't always go our way, of course, but at least you had the opportunity to see them and to do that. But you know, it's not going to change now. It's not going back. There's too much money. There's too much money in the game, and really, if you think about it, what the Champions League really has probably become is what the old Fairs Cup used to be. You get 2 or 3 teams from each country playing in that, you know, and it happened. So, you know, so you had the top team in that would go play in the European Cup. Whoever won the FA Cup would play in the Cup Winners' Cup, and then you had probably 2 or 3 teams from the old First Division that used to get into the Fairs Cup.
Yeah,
I know. So you can have 2 teams out from the same country, as we know, playing in the European Cup, European Champions League in the final.
We got 2 teams from the same country playing the final many times.
Yeah, United Chelsea, just recent. Huh?
United Chelsea. You had Bayern Munich and Dortmund. Was it Dortmund? You had Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid play each other.
No, German, you hardly remember. You might remember the last romantic winners of the FA Cup in Britain, in my opinion, was Sunderland. Remember that?
Sunderland, yeah, of course, yeah. Bob Stoker on the pitch.
150 to 1 starting off.
What about
his brown man?
What about Wigan when they won it?
Who?
Wigan.
Oh yeah. Jeez, when was that play?
That was well. They won the FA Cup. Did they beat City in the final?
They beat Man City.
The next on the Monday or the Tuesday, they got relegated.
What about my guy though winning the cup in '88? Vinnie Jones and Ed all of them. Wasn't that just fantastic, lads? I was reading a bit about Vinnie Jones last night. I was looking at the program he did. He's talking about his wife, you know, who he lost 3 years ago from cancer. But you know, really, of course, they grew up together. I mean, when he met her first, he was 13 and she was 12. But the crazy gang, as they were known in '88, like, I mean, really. Oh, actually, Joe, didn't Wimbledon beat Grimsby over the weekend? Did they?
Who did?
Wimbledon.
Yes, they did. They beat them 1-0.
They beat them 1-0, Wimbledon, yeah, as we're talking about the crazy gang, you know?
Yeah.
They're still down.
You know, the most defining moment in that game with Wimbledon and Liverpool, Vinnie Jones nearly broke Steve McMahon in half on the halfway line.
Yeah.
And McMahon was never the same again.
Go
in the game, yeah. He just clattered him like you wouldn't believe, and it changed the whole complexion of the game. I mean, the only way they were going to beat Liverpool was to set about them and to intimidate them. And Laurie Sanchez scored the goal, right?
He did, yeah.
He did. Laurie Sanchez scored the goal. That's right.
Yeah.
And
Liverpool were going for the double that day.
That was 88, was it? 1988?
I'll tell you a funny story about Laurie Sanchez. So Laurie Sanchez, when he was managing Wickham, I used to go and watch Wickham some nights because a guy I used to play golf with was a past chairman and past manager of Wickham Wanderers.
Oh, nice.
I can't think of his second name now. Brian Lee. He was part of the FA and everything else, and all sorts of different things. But he managed Wycombe for a long time when he took them to Adams Park.
Yeah.
And after that game, I was playing golf with Laurie Sanchez, and he was telling us that after that game, they cut all his trousers straight up, like shredded them in his suit trousers in the changing rooms at Wembley. And they cut his shoes in half, and he had to literally come out of Wembley in a shirt and tie, tracksuit bottoms, and a pair of trainers. He reckons
Laurie Sanchez went to manage Northern Ireland, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He did, yeah.
There's a story about the Crazy Gang. They were playing at Nottingham Forest, and Clough was the manager of Forest, and the Wimbledon arrive and they're in their dressing room and they've got their boombox going, and they got all this rap crap going, and Clough couldn't stand it, so he says to his assistant manager, he says, "Brian, go down and have a word with him, will you please, and ask him to turn it down." So he went down and he knocked Brian Hill knocks on the door, and Vinny opens the door and he says, "Vinny, could you, Mr. Clough doesn't like that kind of music. Could you turn it down a bit, please? He'd like it a little bit quieter." Yeah, no problem. So he walks back to the Nottingham Forest dressing room. Vinny goes into the Wimbledon dressing room, turns the volume up. So Clough says to his man, he says, "Right, go back down, will you please, and ask him nicely again to turn it down." So he goes down, knocks on the door. Somebody else came out. Dave Beeson, I think, maybe. Dave, could you turn the music down? Mr. Clough is getting a bit irritated by it. "Oh, yeah, we'll do it. No problem. Leaves, goes back in, turns it back up again. So Clough goes, "Right, and I'll be back." So Clough goes down, opens the door, slams it back, walks into the dressing room, picks up the boombox, slams it on the floor, and says, "Now then, Wimbledon, how do you like that?" And walks right back out. Those boys for a time there, I mean, they would,
But the pity, I know they got a bad rap, but I mean, that was the way. I'm not saying that's the way soccer should have been played. It's certainly not the kicking people and all of that. But they were much. They probably did more than many other teams. But I mean, when you got the ball, as you said, Joe, and you were playing, the first thing in your head was to get rid of it, or you'll be flattened. You know, that was the way soccer was played. And I'm not making an excuse for the Crazy Gang, but they had some fantastic soccer players as well. People shouldn't forget that. You know, they could really play soccer as well, like, you know.
Fashanu.
John Fashanu.
Yeah,
they had Fashanu.
Sanchez, Vinnie Jones.
Didn't they have Dennis Wise?
They had Dennis Wise, yeah.
Joe, you'll like this one. Joe, what do you call a tricky left to right 5-foot putt?
What's that?
A Dennis Wise. He was a tricky 5-footer as well.
Yeah,
you know, he was, for a small player, lads. He was a little dynamo. Dennis Wise, I'm saying, you know, he had a short fuse, all right, but he could play soccer.
Oh, he had a short fuse. Himself and Robbie Savage, when they were at Leicester, they didn't get on at all, and they had their Christmas party one year, and they drew lots for who got who, and Robbie Savage got Dennis Wise, and buys him an adult sex toy. Dennis Wise did not take it kindly, and fisticuffs ensued. The two of them never spoke to each other again for a day. It's just the kinds of things. I mean, Dennis Wise was one of those guys that would start. He'd start a fight in an empty room.
He would. He would. Did he play with Chelsea as well? Did he?
Yeah, he was at Chelsea. Yeah, he was.
He was at Chelsea as well. He never played for England, did he?
Yeah, I think he did.
I think he did.
I think he
Yeah.
did he? I'm not
I
too
don't know if
sure.
he into double figures for caps, but he definitely played for England.
Yeah.
Yeah, wise. He was a good. I tell you, he was for his size and all. People remember him. He was he was a guy you'd want on your team as well. Around that time, Dennis Wise. But there you go. The match is over. 4-1 for Brazil. They just beat Korea 4-1, and
They must
I
have
think
taken 5 off the pitch and didn't put 5 back on, didn't they?
so.
Yeah.
Brazil are playing Croatia now, lads. In the next, that should be a good match. Brazil and Croatia. It has the potential to be a tough match.
Yes, it'll be an interesting game. It'll be an
Yeah.
interesting game. Croatia are a hard team to play against. They're very, very physical at the back. It's going to be interesting to see how Rafinha and Richarlison and Neymar react to some of the tackles that are going to be flying in there. There's going to be a lot of body checking and stuff like that.
They'll
So
need a good referee because they have a tendency to dive a lot. Neymar, he diminishes himself in my eyes all the time. PSG is shocking. It's a bit more, but
yeah,
Argentina, and the Netherlands will become the winners of Brazil and Croatia. Could it be Argentina and Brazil, Darwin?
No. You keep forgetting something.
No.
Do you want me
No,
to start to you again?
can you hear them roaring in the background? The 3 lions.
No, in the semi-final I'm talking about. They could meet in the semi-final if they both win. If Brazil win and if Argentina win their match, they're scheduled to meet in the semi-final.
No, I think Brazil would beat Argentina.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah. And so the final thoughts on tomorrow night: Morocco and Spain. How do you call it?
I think Spain will win that one probably.
Yeah.
I think Spain will win that 2 or 3-0.
Don't be shocked with the next one being Switzerland.
And
Yeah.
you think Switzerland will turn over Portugal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a real good chance of that happening.
Now, a final word, Joe or Derwin. Valderrama is on the Live Golf twist around next year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something very positive for them in the progression of the team as well? There are still talks about Adam Scott joining them for the Australian crowd.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few going to come out after Christmas who's turning over.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gossip of who's going and who's not going and everything else. But I think, and what they're going now at 15 events so far.
Yeah.
But I think there's another 3 possibles to come on. So it could be
right.
18 events. But I mean, Valderrama, there's a backstory to the Valderrama thing because Valderrama was the home of the Volvo Masters for 25 years.
It was because of Sevi, is it?
No, basically a European tour knew that Liv were in discussions with Valderrama about hosting an event. And during the Andalusia Masters at Valderrama this year, Valderrama kept asking for a meeting with the tour about next year's dates and different things.
Yes.
Believe it or not, they couldn't spare time to have a discussion. And they were all there at Valderrama.
Are you serious?
And the board who own Valderrama, that's in the members board turned around and said, we're going with Liv. End of story. Liv have paid them, I think they've paid them $500,000 for the event to host it.
Such was a no-brainer.
And they took it that, Valderrama's been the home for the Volvo Masters and the Lucia Masters for like 30 odd years. Yeah. The tour couldn't even have a conversation with the people who they needed to have a chat with.
Now, I know, Joe, across the water, there has been reports that they've done a deal with Fox Sports to carry the series next year.
Yeah.
I think reading between the lines, it has to be a done deal. I don't know whether it is or not. Did you hear anything, Darwin, yourself?
No, I have no idea anything about that.
So, Darwin, what do you make of this? With Rory coming out and saying that if Greg Norman was gone from the Live Tour, then they could have discussions.
I just think I think Rory gets a lot of bad advice sometimes.
Yes.
You've got Woods and McIlroy now being the voice for the PGA Tour, which is they're obviously gaining somewhere along the line out of this. There'll be corporate days, or there'll be something where they're earning some money from it because they don't do it for nothing. But I think McIlroy and Woods should actually back off and keep themselves to themselves, because I actually think McIlroy's losing a lot of what's the right word? Not friendships. That's not the right word. But he's losing a lot of respect.
He is. That's the word, because there's two well-known, what I call very, very, very conservative golf writers who would be totally against live golf, totally against something like that. Very traditional people, you know. They're beginning to make columns against McIlroy speaking out too much, you know, like that, very negatively.
Well, it's become the voice piece for the PGA Tour.
But you know, Joe, it's none of McIlroy's business or Wood's business who runs Live Golf. It's none of their business.
Well, and that's the whole point of it, right there.
Did Greg Norman ever come out and say, "Get rid of Jay Monahan and we'll talk"?
No. He wants
isn't
to.
It amazing? Isn't it amazing that the PGA
But what's happening
has found all this millions and millions of dollars to put into the what's the word? Didn't they give Woods a load of money for doing nothing? Sure, he's not playing.
Well, they created the social media award. Yeah. I mean, really?
What's that?
Yeah.
That's a backhanded way of thank you for speaking up about Live. We'll create this. Woods will outstrip everybody on social media in the golf environment. That's Charlie Woods would probably outstrip the top 5 on the order of merit on social media.
Yeah.
And that was just another way of, we can't pay you for being a voice piece, but what we'll do is we'll do this. We'll create this. Because when they created it, everybody just went, why don't they just give Woods the money now? Because he's got something stupid like 40 odd million following him on Twitter.
And by the way, before we finish, lads, if you're over the next time, you can go up to Shane Lowry's new gastro pub and restaurant in Tullamore. You know, it's magnificent. So you go up there. We'll next time we're over, we'll go up to Tullamore to
Joe, I had some of the best liver and bacon I've ever had.
I remember. Oh, he went for liver and bacon and onions and chips with us when he was over. Liver and bacon.
Really?
Yeah.
Joe, it was hilarious. I wouldn't say we outstayed our welcome, but the guy who owns the place turned the lights off.
Did you, Darwin, did Mary not make you any packet and tripe while you were there?
No. Mary, I mean, I'm not sure Mary knows where the kitchen is in her house.
No, we look forward to Saturday night, England and France, and we look forward to the rest of the World Cup. Tomorrow night is the last 2 quarterfinals to be decided, so we look forward to that, lads. But from this edition of SportsView, from Joe Waters and from Derwin Horn and myself, till we meet again, lads, take care and good sport.
Take care, lad.
Good night.
Bye.